Hey everyone! We previously learned about ethics and this desire to do no harm in research. We also need to look at principles though. What else should we value in our research? Now that we're getting some experience with Project 1 and through the journals and stuff, we also need to think about our role, intent, and impact as a researcher. The research you do goes beyond this class, so you need to ask yourself, what kind of researcher do you want to be? So for this video, I'm going to provide some principles to help you better understand research, as well as 3 questions that help you figure out your own research identity. First, a really common principle among researchers is it isn't about you. Research is not about creating evidence to support beliefs you already have. You should enter research with an open mind and a focus on inquiry. This means you're seeking out both sides of an issue. You're respecting the complexity of the topic and the problem. It's also things like triangulating data, verifying the results through different methods. Overall, you're seeking out new information or challenging yourself. You're not just sticking to status quo. For example, I get a lot of research papers focusing on guns, like gun control versus gun rights. I've also had papers about vaping. So even if you support gun rights or vaping, you don't just do research with people who support the idea. You challenge your own beliefs and you seek out people who actually disagree with you. You need to understand why people have certain beliefs, not just that they have them. Another principle we have is it isn't about winning. You don't win research. Any data that you get is good data, even if it disproves your hypothesis or merely confirms previous data. For example, I had a student who wanted to research mental health of freshmen. So they did a survey of freshmen that she knew, and most of the respondents were generally happy. They didn't have mental health concerns or issues. So this student I had was freaking out. She was like, my paper's going to fail, my data's bad. And it was just, we have to look at it with a different lens. It's not the case that her study failed. Her survey actually revealed the complexity of the issue. Maybe Ball State is doing something really well that other schools aren't in addressing mental health on campus. Or maybe the students here aren't very aware of their symptoms and their needs, so then we need to develop an education plan to help them understand. That survey data was very helpful, even though it wasn't the data she wanted. This principle also means that we value honesty. We're not going to exaggerate data or methods or results. We present things as is. Most papers that are published in a scholarly journal have a limitations section in them. It's a specific section just for admitting mistakes and biases, just for reflecting on what can be better, much like what you're doing for Project 1. The last principle we have is that research is about real people. It can be easy to forget that, especially when you use quantitative data. We have to remember that the research we get comes from people, and the research we get is used to make policies and medical treatments. We have to be much more intentional about our research then. We need to be asking ourselves who writes research, who benefits from research, and who is missing from research. Here is a recent example to illustrate. I saw a Twitter post about this man who was creating a free online handbook of pictures and symptoms of skin conditions for Black and brown skin. This man realized that research about his topic usually benefits people with white skin, leaving misdiagnosis opportunities for other skin tones. He also recognized that research wasn't just for PhD students. He wanted his book to be public for parents so they can better diagnose their children. It isn't just medicine too. I've seen topics like these with makeup, leading people to post swatches of different skin tones on Instagram. Another personal example I have with research is my research on teaching. Usually when I see research about pedagogy, the study of teaching, it often neglects asking students. They'll interview teachers about classroom management and test scores, but they won't always interview students about how they want to be managed, what respect they want, or how they feel about test scores. So in my personal research, I try to include a student perspective and a student reaction. Our pilot study was just our first step into research, but hopefully it gives you an experience to start thinking about these principles and questions. I also wanted to mention that my research philosophy is posted on campus. These are my personal values about research. So feel free to check that out and get some inspiration. The goal here is just to take responsibility for our actions and acknowledge that we are part of a bigger issue.